fascinating.
Sure.
And I loved that movie.
That one tracked. The Wizard of Oz, I was like, what
Wizard of
sort
Oz is
of
great.
weird? Why?
Wizard of Oz is a near perfect movie.
What? There are so many things wrong with that sentence, but I don't know why you think. What? What makes you think that? I'm so confused by anything that just you said.
Welcome to this week's episode of Teaching Keating. I'm going to do my best not to sing.
Okay, thank you.
Any of the music.
I don't mind
Wicked.
when you sing. I think it's fine. I think it's great.
Fine is what you want to hear as an adjective for your singing voice.
We were talking about this because we saw the movie. We took the kids over break, and it was awesome. It was really good. But also, I'm not a huge, I like musicals. I'm not a huge fan of the whole Wicked music in general. It's just not my vibe.
Kaylee,
it's not my jam.
Cover your ears.
I like an alt. I mean, I like an alt, I liked the Huey Lewis in the News when we saw.
What are you talking?
When we saw Back to the Future on Broadway, that's way more my jam.
I'm so embarrassed for you right now.
The Wicked music is just really, it's exactly Broadway-esque, if you know what I'm saying.
Awesome.
Okay, just not my jam.
But
the movie was great.
So spoiler alert.
The movie was great. Sorry.
We took the kids to see Wicked.
Yeah, we did.
It's remarkable.
It's great. It's amazing.
It's remarkable.
They've done a beautiful job with it. Yeah.
It's an absolute spectacle.
Yes, it is. The sets, the costumes, all of the things.
I'm curious about a number of things.
Okay.
Number one, how do you hate the Wizard of Oz? We'll get into that.
Conversation, sure. Okay.
So I'm curious to know, when are you a Glinda?
Yeah.
And when are you a Wicked Witch when it comes to being a parent, an educator, and a spouse?
Oh, okay. Are you going to answer all of these too?
Yeah, I wouldn't hang out to dry.
I know. I'm just saying. Are we each one?
When are you a good?
I'm the good.
When are you a good witch? When are you a bad witch?
We're both of both at any given time.
Or what direction you want to take it?
I'm just saying, are we answering for as a parent, as a spouse, and
we're answering for
okay,
both.
Got it.
Yes.
So we'll be which one we are for as a parent, as a spouse, as an educator.
As an educator.
Okay.
Yeah. Which one do you want to start with? Lower gradient? You want to start with educator first?
Yeah, let's go lower gradient. But in fairness, I don't love The Wizard of Oz. You've always loved it, and you told me this in our first. I don't know. Maybe probably our first year of marriage, because I was definitely married to you before I understood this piece of very important information.
The Wizard.
Yeah.
Two things Molly was
I was really kind of
shocked
taken aback
to learn about me. I love The Wizard of Oz. And and I know all the hate that's going to come my way for this.
It's not going to be hate, but whatever.
I love Titanic.
That one actually tracks a little bit more because you're a social studies and a U.S. history teacher So that one actually even made more sense to me. I find
Titanic fascinating.
Sure.
And I loved that movie.
That one tracked. The Wizard of Oz, I was like, what
Wizard
sort
of Oz
of
is
weird?
Great.
Why?
Wizard of Oz is a near perfect movie.
What? There are so many things wrong with that sentence, but I don't know why you think. What? What makes you think that? I'm so confused by anything that just you said.
I think it's brilliant. I think the whole transition, the symbolism, is wonderful.
Okay.
Right?
Yes.
Because if you understand The Wizard of Oz and when it came out.
You realize it was a book first, though. Hence the whole Wicked thing.
Have you read the book?
No. Have you?
Molly's one of those people who always likes to share that she's read the book.
I haven't read this one. I haven't. I don't know. I just know there is a book.
No, but if you understand the symbolism of The Wizard of Oz, right?
Yes.
It came out post Great Depression, post Dust Bowl era.
History teacher, geek it up right now.
And so this is Dorothy in Kansas, in the heart of the Dust Bowl.
Okay.
And everything is dark. It's bleak. It's in black and white.
Right.
And all people wanted to do at that point in time is transition to a world of just light and joy and hope. And that's what the movie, the symbolism is wonderful.
I love that. Anyone who's not a history teacher, I just don't get it. As a little kid, right? I didn't have any of that context. Neither did you, but you loved it. And I was like, this thing is so
wildly
weird.
Entertaining.
I was not entertained by it at all. I thought it was so weird. I didn't get the Yellow Brick Road. I didn't get where all these made up, you know, there's like a Tin Man and this girl, and she kept asking all these questions. I was like, why is she like following these guys everywhere? Like my literal,
she's not. She's leading.
But was she? I don't know. But she was
leading
like
them.
helpless and all the questions.
She's
and
not
I was
helpless.
just like, oh, okay.
The Tin Man.
You're very
the
emotionally
Scarecrow,
connected.
I'll die on this hill.
I know, but like I'm just saying, as a little kid watching this movie at Christmas time or whenever they would put it out, like I just did not get it at all.
Dorothy's helpless at the start of the movie, but as it progresses, like she's every bit the protagonist and she's the leader.
But she's just like asking so many questions and why this and why that, and her sing-song in weird voice and the shoes. And I was just like, you know, I learned a lot about Judy Garland after the movie.
Molly hates questions from this podcast.
I don't. Just Judy Garland asking all these weirdos.
Molly hates Judy Garland.
No, I don't.
Molly hates Judy Garland and
you're
questions.
Very emotionally, you're getting really emotionally connected and tied in, and I think maybe we need to take a break. Needless to say, I didn't get it as a kid. I still don't get it. I understand your love, and even more love now from your history teacher self about why you like it.
But you realize this is one of those moments where, like, I realize that there are things that I don't like, and I know I'm wrong.
Okay.
Is this one of those moments where you realize this is a thing you don't like and you know you're wrong?
I don't think I'm wrong. I just don't like it.
Of course you don't think you're wrong.
I just have a different taste. I don't think it's a bad movie. Like, I understand why other people in the world have loved it, why it's a classic historically, why it's all out there. I get all of those things. I understand them. That's great. I'm just saying it's not me. Okay. I didn't get it.
All right.
Didn't resonate with me.
Moving
on to Wicked. Really loved it.
Welcome to our last podcast ever.
So
it's all coming to an end right here on the show.
The things. Here we go. Beginning and the end.
Let's jump into
Wicked. Let's go.
Of talking about things that are thematically appropriate for Wicked. Where as an educator,
this is where I'm Wicked.
This is me. This is
right
clearly
now.
a moment of
This is where I'm the
wickedness.
Wicked Witch. I don't like your
as an educator.
taste.
Where were you, Glinda? Where were you a good witch? Where were you a bad witch?
I was pretty strict in my classroom.
Okay.
You know this historically, so I would say that. I don't know if that's a Wicked Witch. I was strict with behaviors in my classroom.
Okay.
Kids work better when they know what to expect in processes. So I was really specific with processes, the process in my classroom. I would say I run my home like that for the most part. But I would also argue that I'm sort of, I don't like strictness as the gauge, because I don't think that's wicked.
I don't think so
I think
either.
That's loving, right? Like I find
another example of where like this is what I think, but I'm not wrong. Carry on. Carry on.
I'm saying what in my brain equals love is consistency and expectations and, you know,
and
behaviors.
All those things are right.
Okay. Behaviors that are known and can be expected and counted on. Got it. So I don't think that's wicked, but I don't know if that's nice. That's not where I'm Glenda Witch. I would say I'm Glenda, I don't know. I'm Glenda more probably in our home, because we're both oldest children. So I feel like
as an educator.
Okay, as an educator.
You're all over the map here.
I think I was pretty strict as an educator. So I would say I leaned more stern.
Okay, that's your good witch, bad witch.
I was just a bad witch.
So you hedged your bets.
Not a bad witch, just a firm
I'll
witch.
enter into a place of vulnerability.
Okay, go ahead. Please.
In the classroom, like I was a good witch in the sense that like I assumed the best of all my kids.
Good.
I authentically believed they could all be successful.
I've seen you teach. You were fun.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. Like
you liked to have fun. You had a good time, but you were pretty stern.
But I also had really high standards.
Yes.
Right. I'll take it to a different place. Like here's where I was more wicked, and it's one of those things like, oh, shit, like I wish I could go back in time and change this.
Okay.
I was really wicked in terms of like, I was the classic teacher of like, hey, my expectation is that you're going to get your stuff in on time. Oh. And if it's not in on time, there's going to be a penalty. And I'm embarrassed.
Yeah.
And I'll explain why.
Yeah.
I'm embarrassed about that because it was just, in my stupid teacher brain mind, I was like, well, I'm teaching
I don't think you were stupid. I think you were young.
Yes.
So I'll give you some credit there.
But I'll say this, like in my teacher brain, I was like, well, I'm teaching responsibility. Yeah. And I want to go back and slap myself because I'm like, hey man, how many zeros do you have to put in your grade book before you realize like that's not working?
Right.
And I needed to follow like sort of like my own current advice of like, hey, like either school is about mastery or it's not.
Right.
Right. And so like if a kid has mastered the skill, it's the only metric that matters. And so like whether the work comes in late or not, it's just like, hey, on the assessment, like have you mastered the skill? And if so, then great. Like you earned whatever the proficiency mark is.
And these are things that we can say, having been in the classroom and not being in the classroom currently and not having our paychecks tied to any person where we can't say what we want to say. But I would say both of us have grown in that experience where the fact of the matter is like, that's just bullshit and a control thing of the teachers. Like, I just don't want to go back and put those grades in. I just don't want to.
It was a total control thing.
And I'll say that was probably a little bit of mine where I was wicked because I had yet to have children. I wasn't married when I was doing that. And not that I wasn't later on in other parts in different classrooms. But it has been a place of growth and learning for me, which is just like, do I want to honor your effort or not? Do I care? Is it about me not wanting to go put it back in the grade book and be controlling and be mean? Or is it about you putting forth some effort? I don't care that it was 2 weeks late. The fact that you handed it to me at all meant you care enough to do it, or you got it in or whatever. So I'll take that on good faith. And if you're moving in the right direction and you are heading towards mastery, like that's a place where I've had to learn to be a little bit more good, and I think that's a place where we should all move.
But it's
educationally based. That's just my professional opinion.
It's the feeling that every educator has, which is like, oh, I wish I could go back in time. And so like if you're one of my former students who's listening to this and I gave you a 0, sorry, I was wrong.
Sorry, it doesn't help you now.
Sorry, send me a letter. I'll be happy to change that grade.
Well, here's the thing. We're all first year teachers and second year teachers and third year teachers, and we learn as we go. Nothing is perfect. But
even as a 10th, 11th year teacher, I was still a rigid asshole.
Oh, were you? I think I always
judgment,
took work.
I reject your judgment.
Sorry, I wasn't. I'm just saying I always took late work.
Let's move on
I learned
to
take it.
parenting.
Yes, please.
Right?
Let's move on to parenting.
Where are you good? Where are you wicked in terms of parenting?
Oh, goodness. Can you answer? Do you know
sure,
first? Go ahead. You go ahead first.
I think when it comes to being good, I do a good job. Like I tell my kids I love them constantly. I hug them all the time. Like my children will grow up to resent me for a number of things. It will never be Dad didn't hug me enough. Dad didn't tell me he loved me enough. Yeah. Right? Like
we do say that ad nauseum. I'll say we because we both do that.
Yes. Where I'm wicked, patience.
Oh yeah.
I'm
one of those goals. Yeah.
Like my expectations for the kids are really high, and because they're so high, I'm wildly impatient. Yeah. And it's a thing I'm constantly working on. Yeah. And I have to get better at. Okay. It's one of those things that you're doing you're literally biting your lip right now. But
I'm trying to actively listen and not step on your words.
Your face is
Carry
actively
on.
listening.
Okay. Keep going.
Yeah. No, those are my two.
Okay.
Those are my two.
I think in parenting, my wicked is this is a place where this is very vulnerable for me. I really lament the fact that I don't think I played enough with the kids when they were younger, because I was really concerned about just making sure all the things logistically, making sure they were fed and I was on top of everything. And then when you started traveling and being on the road and not there, that was even more difficult for me.
Keeping them alive.
Well, I'm not, and this is just a place of ownership for me. My brain is not a linear brain. It never has been. It doesn't work that way. So I have to put a lot of effort into the day-to-day systems. I think it's probably why I'm so crazy about systems and behaviors and consistency, because my brain doesn't actually naturally work that way. It's a lot of work for me. You hear me on the podcast. I'm talking all over here and over here and over here and over here. Like I'm not linear thinker. That's not how it works. So to do things in order and to be orderly, I had to put extra effort in. And because I had to put extra effort in, I struggled to just be able to divert, because that's a heavy lift for me. So I think I probably didn't play as much as I would have liked to. And I really lament that fact. I think I've grown in it and I've gotten better. I talked about skiing before on the podcast, and that's something that we're really focused on doing this winter, because we've been bad at just being in our mountains and playing with the kids. It's a place of deep vulnerability and a struggle for me. So I think that's where it's been wicked.
Honest.
Yeah.
Where you been good?
I think I'm good at just sort of, I hope I'm good. I don't know. You have to ask them, but listening to them and trying to hear where they're at in the moments that they are talking to me. I think maybe one better with the other, because depending on where they are in their week, one usually chats with me more or less, or depending on what's going on with them in life and school. But I hope that I'm there at least enough to at least ask them questions, even if they don't want me asking them questions. I am checking in with them a lot, I hope. And I'm asking not even necessarily like, how was school? Tell me something interesting you did today, or what was something funny that happened with one of your teachers, or are you stoked about anything that you're doing in your classes? I'm just trying to ask different questions. Whereas even though they're annoyed, like, mom, stop with the 50 questions. Like, I'm asking them, and I hope that, like, 10, 15, 20, 40, 100 years from now, like they'll still remember, like, oh, she at least asked us. Like, she really cared about what was going on and what we were doing. So I think that's a place that I have been consistently good with.
I would agree.
Oh, okay, thanks.
Yeah, I would totally agree.
Good.
I would totally agree.
Great.
Yeah, I think you're better at that than I am.
Okay. I'm trying to hear them more because I'm a talker, as we know. So, like, that's also been a place of, like, I'm actively working so hard to shut up.
You are a louder listener than I am.
I'm a very loud listener.
Yeah.
The majority of my life.
Yes.
I wish I knew how to do it different. I don't. This is my process, man.
All right.
Okay. Last but not least. Okay, go ahead.
All right. You ready?
Yeah, go.
As a spouse, like,
you got to answer this
first. Where are you good?
first.
Where are you wicked?
You got to answer first.
I was sitting here thinking about this.
When I was talking, you were already going into your other. I'm just giving you a hard time. You're already moving on.
No.
I'm just poking you. That's where I'm bad. I like to see. That's where I'm wicked. I see where your thinking is going, and I like to poke at you.
I would never.
I know. Go ahead. If you have it, answer first.
Well, I would just. You want me to go?
Yes.
I'll go.
Yeah, go ahead.
Here's where I think I'm good. Here's what's interesting. This one is way harder for me to think of.
Okay, good. That's okay.
Is it?
I don't know.
Here's where I think I'm good. I think I'm good. And good news, this only took me like 12 years to figure out.
Okay. So then it's been smooth sailing the last 3 or 4, right?
I think I've gotten good at figuring out sort of like what your actual needs are.
Oh, okay.
And being able to sort of like anticipate those in such a way that like you get those things when you need them. So so like if you like,
I agree. Let me just tell you this. I agree.
Okay, good.
I don't know where you're going with this, but I agree that keep going.
But like there are certain things that you need. Like you need, especially if I've been on the road working, like you need adult conversation. Right? Like you need a date night time just to it. Like you need to make sure that we have family time, like just dinner time as a family. Like you need to you need to know that like we're all going to make sure to like go to church together. And so like I've got sort of like this running list of things in my head of just like, okay, like my wife, and it's not you need it in a way that like, oh, I need to take care of you, but it's just like, hey, these are things that as a couple, as a family, and as an adult are really important. And for you to feel fed, like you need these things. And so like our biggest fights always come when I have not been attentive to what those things are. And then you're feeling like you're not getting what you need. I'm feeling like I'm not getting what I need. And then it's just like,
It's interesting to me. So you're right. Really good job. 15 years in.
Great.
You're
thanks.
right.
I'll take it. Also 12 years in.
No, right? I'm saying it took you 12 years to do it, but now we're smooth sailing the last. But all of that to be said, it does take a long time because even early in our marriage, I'm like jumping back to like, oh, previous point, like, oh, you need to work out. No, I don't.
Yeah.
Don't tell me what I need.
Yes.
I do need to work out probably at some point.
I used to tell you that all the time because it was like, you need to work out. And what it really was like, I need to work out. Or it was, I just need you to be happier.
Yes. Yeah.
Go work out.
Stop
because
being
that
so
works
pissy.
for me.
Yes.
And really that wasn't it at all. Like,
no. And I knew it, and it would just it would infuriate me. Like the fury at which came back upon you when you would tell me those things.
I recall.
I'm sure you do.
I recall.
It's not that long ago. I'm sure you do. So you've gotten much better at sort of learning to navigate. And I think you've learned just historically from our time together is like, okay, there's not specific his and hers that my wife needs. Yes, there are his and hers, and you have your thing and I have mine, and we need these different things at the same time. But really when I lose it is when we've been doing the his and hers.
Correct.
You've been on the road or football or whatever. The kids have all been doing their thing. We're all going 4 different directions at 4 different times. And what we need is unity. And that's what I'm feeling.
Correct.
And so you've gotten much better at being like, oh, We need things that are going to unify us, that are solidify us,
Correct.
that are going to bring us back to family and to center and to all the things that we value and hold dear and keep us, sort of in the midst of like our solidarity as a family life. So everything that I need, you've learned, relates to those things.
Correct.
Time with you, time as a group, time as a family, shared dinner, shared meals, shared everything, just like shared time, especially when I've been by myself parenting 2 teenagers for 3 days or 5 days or whatever your road schedule has been. So that's helpful. Good job.
Okay.
Okay, great.
Good affirmation. I need that.
You do.
Which actually fits well into where I'm wicked.
Okay.
This isn't going to surprise you at all. I am...
You're moving, so now I feel like you're a little bit
I'm
nervous.
uncomfortable.
Oh, okay, good. Are you scared of my answer?
No.
Scared of my reaction?
No,
okay.
I know. Okay. You're not going to be surprised by this. Okay. I'm very needy.
I'm really having, because I'm surprised that you, like, this is where my...
Are you surprised that I have an awareness?
No. I know that you're aware. There's nothing that I feel bad because you know it, but you just... Also,
I am so needy
still the same.
of your time and attention.
Yeah.
And I know that
not all couples are like this. Everybody has their different dynamic, right? Everybody has their little thing.
Some couples can
whatever.
just not see each other for a long time, and they're like, "That's cool."
Everybody has their flow. And I think it comes a lot from like how you're raised and sort of the relationships you witness and all the things.
I need so much time and attention from you. And it's so obnoxious. I've said on this podcast before, if I could carry you around a little baby Bjorn on my front, like I would do it. Like just to feel connected to you all the time.
I don't have time for that shit. We don't have time for that.
I know that it's so obnoxious.
It's not obnoxious. I appreciate it and it's very endearing. Sorry, just let me give you my perspective of this really quickly. I really appreciate it. It's endearing. And I think it's how every spouse should love their spouse, which is just like, you want to hang out with me and we care about each other a lot and we're friends.
All the time.
And we're in a marriage and we're in a business and we have children. But all of those other things actually have to get done and take precedent. And I can't hang out with you all the time.
I know.
So part of me is just my frustration of being like, hey man, I get that we're friends and that we're married and all these things and you haven't seen me. However, we have a 15 and 13-year-old who have immediate needs that need to be attended to right this second. We have animals and dogs and just like the business of life, like I don't have time to do this. I don't have time to deal with this shit. And you need to get on my team and like.
And I get super butthurt
You do.
about that.
And I'm just like, be my partner, walk with me to get all the things done that need to get done so that I can ultimately give you the attention that you need or want, or I can just share that time and space with you.
Yeah.
But we have to get all this other stuff just handled and accomplished because that's a business of life and adulthood in order to even carve out that space and have it. And I think you get that wrong sometimes.
I admitted it.
Okay. I'm just saying from my perspective, sometimes it tends to trump other things and you have a hard time.
This is what I'm
hearing
saying.
it. I'm hearing it. You just have a hard time.
I'm so proud of my awareness.
I'm proud of your awareness as well. You have a hard time sort of dialing it back down and not taking it really personally. But you've gotten better with that.
That's a fact.
Yeah.
That's a fact.
Yeah. Because you're like,
right.
You get annoyed. Okay,
now
great.
Your turn.
I'll end. I think I'm wicked sometimes. That kind of falls into what we just talked about, which is like, I'm probably not as attentive to you as I need to be when you need it. Like I'm not, because I've talked about my vulnerabilities in terms of, because my brain doesn't think linearly, I'm not good at being able to modulate and sort of, see when you're ramping up or like I've given my attention to all these other things and then sort of give you more time and carve out space when you need it. I can't necessarily tell, and you don't usually blow, but you kind of get a little passive aggressive or you get annoyed.
It's only when you give time and attention to other things and other people.
Right.
And then I get like garbage time.
Agreed.
It's like, hey,
sure.
I've just watched you be kind and attentive in all these other scenarios.
Yeah.
And now it's time for you and I to hang out.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's garbage time.
And I hopefully have gotten better because I've learned to like, I get that I only, you only have 100% at any given time to everything. So like if I've already given 70% over here and I save you 30, even though I carved out that 30, you want like 50 or 80 or, and I don't necessarily always have that to give.
I just want 100% of your 30.
I know you do, but that is
Are you telling me that's not realistic?
Wives, is it realistic? Anybody help me out? Is it anyone? Oh my gosh. Okay. I'm just saying I've gotten better at sort of trying to hold the boundary of like, okay, I have this amount this week.
I know my expectation is unrealistic because that's also my 10 or 1 tendency. Okay.
So anyway, but I have a hard time. I don't think that I do that well. That's where it's wicked. I think I'm really good at, and Galinda, at just allowing you the space to do what you need to feed your soul and support you in that.
I was hoping you'd say this.
Oh, okay, good.
I was hoping you'd say this.
Oh, good.
You're awesome at
it. Okay, thanks.
You're awesome.
Because I was really, thank you for that affirmation. Because I was hoping, because it's a unique, when your spouse coaches anything, it's a very unique circumstance for anything. When your spouse does anything that's outside of their normal work life
to a coach, or or
any
you coach
coaching,
and you have a spouse or a boyfriend, girlfriend, partner, a significant other of any kind, this is an important conversation.
Yes. Well, and we went to a wedding this summer where she was a volleyball coach and he's a football coach, and I was like, I don't know how that's going to happen when they have kids, but they can figure it out, but there's a depth of understanding there too, because they're maybe not in season at the same time. Oh, maybe they are. I think, actually. I don't know. Whatever. It's a depth of understanding because you understand what it takes to give that. And when you're, at whatever level, whether you're coaching college or high school kids or even little, elementary, you give so much emotionally, physically, just intellectually, of your time. You pour out of yourself, and it takes a unique human being. It's what I want. It's part of the reason I really love that about you, and it's part of the reason I married you. Is like, oh, you have such a good heart for kids. Like, you have a really pure heart for kids. Like, you get them, they get you, they feel the love that you have for them, and you are always really good at articulating that. And it's a true gift. I don't think every coach or teacher has it. I really don't. You do, however. So I see that, and I want you to be able to continue that because it feeds your soul and it's good. That being said, it's really tricky in the fall time when you're traveling and going to football and our daughter's sports are ramping up.
I think about this. It's a lot. Just as an affirmation, right? I think about this all the time in the fall because there's a lot of times where I will be on the road, I'll be working. And then, so literally this happened a number of times where I would literally leave the football field, go straight to the airport, go and speak somewhere, be gone for a couple of days, come home, and then go from the airport back to the field.
Yeah. I would say that actually happened more weeks that it didn't because you tried to schedule it so it would, which is okay.
And then after practice, I would come home. And there was never, not once where you guilted me or gave me a hard time for going and coaching football. And this is why I need, if you're married to a coach or if you are a coach and you have a spouse or it's just any sort of relationship at all, it will only work if you have a partner like that who is just ride or die, number one, and recognizes oh, this is a thing that gives my spouse joy and purpose. And because it gives them joy and purpose, it's good for them. It's good for us. And so I'm on board.
I'm going to take it a little bit further. It's less about even that. It's just I really think this is your gift. I really do. I think it's why you've been as successful as you have in writing and teaching and coaching and doing everything else, because you are constantly around high school kids and they don't give a crap what you do for a living.
No.
They'll tell you to your face. They'll be like, well, what are you doing, Keisha? Like, oh, that was a horrible idea. I mean, they just don't care. It keeps you humble in all the ways.
They don't know.
They don't have a clue.
They have a lot of guesses what I do for a living. A lot of high school kids have they wonder if I'm in the CIA. Or a couple of them have been like, I bet Keishnick's a drug dealer. Yeah. Because all they know is I get on planes and I leave for a few days and then I come back.
Yeah.
And they have no idea.
But if they ran the old Google machine, they're so self-involved too. That's the great thing about teenagers. They don't care at all. They're
the story they tell
onto their
themselves
TikTok
is
videos. I don't have time for this, but I'm sure it's very mysterious.
Yes.
Needless to say, they don't care at all. And it keeps you really humble, but it also fills your buckets in all the ways that are good for our marriage and good for our family and good for you. It's just good for you. It is. And I have those things. The other piece I was going to say that I think is really important, you kind of alluded to it earlier, you have a high level of needs just in terms of connectivity. I don't have that same level of need. I'm just different nature in my nature. I just have never had that. I always have had good relationships and I like people but I also am really geeky and I like to read and I like my me time and I like doing what I do and going to the library. I don't have that same level of need, so I don't take it so personally when you're gone because I don't need, it doesn't always have to be reciprocal. I have other needs that you haven't learned, you just stated over time that need to be met, but it's not, those aren't the same. And so that actually tends to work in the benefit of the way that it works out for us. But it's always tricky.
Always.
It's tricky.
Okay.
Keep doing your best. Wicked I don't like, what's the Wicked Witch's name? I keep saying Glenda is the good. Alphaba. Thank you.
Well done.
Thank you.
Well
I was like,
done,
I need an
Kaylee.
Alphaba.
Yes.
I've been trying to remember the whole time and then not say it. So
if we've learned anything from this podcast,
that I'm Alphaba, and there's times that I'm Glenda.
Go watch Wicked. It's remarkable.
And
watch Wicked
Oz,
because you love The Wizard of Oz, which we all should.
Okay. Or not.
That'll do it for this week's episode of Teaching Keating. As always, find us anywhere you get podcasts. Like, hit subscribe. Thanks for listening. You can find me out on the road again. Molly, where can we find you?
You're going to find me hanging out in the 80127 doing what I need to do with the kiddos. But always here. Always ready to go.
Go do a rewatch of The Wizard of Oz. You'll love it. We'll catch you on next week's episode. Be well.
Be well.